Yeah, guys, look, I know this video that I'm posting is very long. It's a couple of hours long, actually, but please understand it's been a long time in building. Been with help from a lot of friends, been gathering information and stuff like that, and it's stuff you can't ignore. Feel free to skip through it and take keynotes if you can. I don't expect you to sit through the whole thing, but there's a lot of great information in this. I look at it kind of like the McDonald's straw. Okay, that's something that we all use at some point in our life. Some of us way more than others. But this is a straw that we just pick up and we trust, and it's a porous paper around it, and we stick it in our drinks and we start sucking on the drinks that they feed us, right? We trust the drinks they feed us. We trust the food. I'm using McDonald's as an example. And I could go with Walmart on other topics as well. But we feed that straw to our children, and without any inspection whatsoever, because we trust what they give us. That's to say the same as the government and anything that's with our anything we consume or trust in. We just kind of, all right, they said it, it's true. We take that. We don't need any other investigation, right? How would we go and investigate all that? We don't have the tools to do it, right? No. So that's where they get you. I just want y'all to think about that for a minute. But yeah, guys, we need to be more aware now than ever of our surroundings. It's like I was talking about that McDonald's straw, man. And if you would have asked me yesterday what was the colors of the stripes on the McDonald's straw, I've been like, is there stripes? I think there is stripes on the McDonald's straw. Maybe it is all white, but maybe there is stripes on it. Never really thought about that. This is something you're sticking in your mouth every time you go there. Trust, this is deep, guys. Think about it. Ask yourself. I mean, you probably think, yeah, there is. Without Googling, without any kind of research, initially, what would your answer be? Is it red? Is it just all white? Is there more? Yeah, there is. I never really think about it, but yeah, of course, subconsciously I knew, but I couldn't answer the question. There is a yellow stripe on the opposite side of the red stripe, and there's the white in the middle. You know, but it's just something to think about, because we don't never actually, and there's so much that we're in touch with. This is the point I'm trying to make. That's trivial. I'm talking about the straw, but it's to make a point. We're in touch physically so much, intimately, if that matter. If you're ingesting something, that's intimately. And we've done this all our lives, and we can't initially answer that. There's a problem. So that's where they get you with this control when I'm talking about these videos, and that's a good point. Man, I'm just going to play what's been sent to me. Y'all get your own opinion about it. I have mine. I'm just going to send out what I've seen, and Lord have mercy, help us all.
Told you how Biden's new Treasury nominee, Sally Omarove, publicly said she wants the price of gas to go higher, and then she wants to see big oil and natural gas bankrupted under Biden's presidency. You can search this stuff for yourself. I'm not making any of this up. Well, now Miss Omarove is publicly saying that she wants all Americans' bank accounts to be taken over by the government and managed by the Federal Reserve banking system. She said she wants to get rid of public banks and credit unions and stock banks and fold them all up under the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve can do more with Americans' money than they can. So basically, they're smarter with your money, so they should have access to it. Now, this is not conspiracy theory. You can look this stuff up for yourself. Most major news outlets are talking about it, but basically, Omarove wants the federal government empowered to come after your money and your bank accounts. Now, this might have seemed crazy a couple of months ago, right? You would be saying, hey, this Steve Gardner guy, he's out of his mind. But now we all know that Nancy Pelosi and others want to give the IRS permission to spy on your bank accounts in the name of holding billionaires accountable. Another policy that just absolutely makes no sense and gives the federal government power over your life. Now, do you see how the government could control people by knowing their spending habits and having access to their money? Break a rule, skip a doctor's appointment, express a negative opinion about the government, and boom, they could drain your bank account until you comply. Now, Miss Omarova said in her mind, there would be no private bank accounts and all bank accounts would be held directly by the Fed. That's a direct quote from her. Senator Elizabeth Warren admits that Miss Omarova has said these things, but said that this is just a vicious smear campaign orchestrated by big banks. I don't know. What do you think? Do you want the IRS spying on your bank account? And do you want the federal government to have permission to access your money whenever they want? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I can't believe I'm reporting on this stuff. It's crazy, you guys.
So me and my coworker got talking today, and something came up that I didn't really think about when my dad mentioned it to me. He's worked in the agriculture industry for over 40 years. This year, farmers are being offered 1.5 times the value of their crops to destroy them. They're also being told by the federal government they will not receive subsidies for farming if they refuse to destroy their crops. What does that mean? That means that the farmer cannot afford to provide you with food based upon the taxes the government is levying on him if the government doesn't in turn give him back his tax money to provide you with food. Kind of a fucked up system, but that's how it works. And, well, they're not going to subsidize them if they don't destroy the crops. They'll pay them more than what it's worth, and they want them to destroy it, and they'll still get their subsidies. They're trying to create a food shortage. We've got 8 months to get our own food supply, or we're probably going to be facing mass starvation.
Is it true that the government is paying farmers to destroy their crops? And the simple answer to that is yes, they are.
Initially heard about the government paying farmers to destroy their crops, I thought it was a load of bullshit. Well, lo and behold, we received our destruction notice the other day. So basically there was two options on how to destroy the crop. The government could fly on Agent Orange, or we could manually destroy the crop ourselves. Oh, we put too much blood, sweat, and tears in it to let them destroy it, so we decided to manually do it ourselves. Basically, it said if we used a lawnmower to destroy the crop, we could receive an extra $600 an acre. Something about the low carbon footprint or something. So that's what we're doing.
I got my letter yesterday. The letter asking you to destroy some crop. Along with the letter, I had to sign for a certified package, which included these two binders, and then of course this 3-ring binder on how to properly dispose of your crops. And as you can tell, it's on government paper. And as you can tell, this here is the affected area in my section of the county, closest town, and of course you can't run away even where you live. So from the county tracts, then they break it down into these individual farm tracts that you have to destroy. And you can see the crop or the field.
This is the second machine that I dropped off here for the local farmers. Just want to show you a little bit of each drum. You got 4 of these drums, 2 on each side. Now you can imagine the damage they can do, not counting the blade which you can set down. So this will be the first field that we take care of. So all we're going to do is mash everything into the ground. And then I'm going to go pick up some steel plates, lay them across the road plates, so we can get the machines over there, start on that farm. So the farmers got paid by the government. I don't understand what it's all about, but they got paid. Now they hired us to come in here and just destroy whatever we can. I don't understand how it all works, but we're already paid for a certain amount of time. You can hear the first machine already running out there. So when you hear them farmers saying they're getting paid to destroy everything, they ain't bullshitting y'all. Y'all better start paying attention.
Well, what you saw right there ought to concern you. I was doing exactly what I was told via a letter I got last night in the mail from the Department of Hydrocarbons. They said in order to stabilize oil prices, they need a bunch of oil just dumped. And not dumped on the market, just dumped on lease roads and field roads and things like that. So I'm hooked up to that oil tank, going straight into my truck to get rid of it. Well, I'm going to get fined if I don't get rid of it, they said. So that prompted me to call District Selectman Tony Deloge and ask him about this letter. He said he didn't know much about it, but he would suggest that I follow whatever it says. So here we go. You know, these are some serious times right now. Since January, oil prices have been through the roof. I'm seeing more and more farmers on TikTok saying that the government's paying them to kill their fields. Agent Orange, I saw a guy with a lawnmower mowing down beans, getting paid to do it. They're controlling food. Now they're going to control energy. I don't understand why this is going on. But I tell you what, if they control food and they control energy, what freedom do you have left? Man, isn't this something?
I'm sorry about the music. I'm going to recap. This is the container that was in the video yesterday, and we have unloaded the container. Freight is setting at ports. It is not moving, and we're talking ports around the world. Now, the freight that was on this container was shipped 37 days ago. This is that freight behind me. Somebody is intentionally hindering freight from moving back and forth. There are ports that are stacked. The directive is let it set. Let it set. I reached out to my largest customer, this customer, and that's what I was told. That the directive is let it set. We are definitely going to experience shortages, the likes of which you have never seen.
Tommy Hayden. All right, good evening. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for spending your evening with us to hear us out. This is my daughter. She goes to Lago Vista Elementary School. She's going to help me out today. So, I've been in construction for 15 years. In that 15 years, I've done my fair share of time in a confined space. In order to get into a confined space, you have to have a monitor such as this. It's an air quality monitor, okay? It monitors everything from oxygen, carbon monoxide, multiple gases, all sorts of stuff. Before you get into that hole, you drop this device down in that hole. If it alarms, it's not safe. You cannot go into that spot. If it doesn't, you're good to go. Once you're in there, every single employee that's in there has to wear this device. And if it ever goes off for any reason, everybody immediately drops all of their tools, whatever they're doing, and they get out. So what I wanted to do was demonstrate what it does when a child's wearing a mask. Hold on one second, sweetheart. All right, right now she is unmasked. I'm reading 20.9 parts per million oxygen. If that number drops below 19.5, this will alarm and she needs to go. Go put your mask on, please. Take it off. So I guess my question is, if per OSHA, I cannot get into a confined space to perform my job, why are we going to send kids, adults, or teachers into a school for 7 to 8 hours wearing a mask on? If you want to wear a mask, that's your right. I applaud you for it, but please don't force that upon the rest of us. Thank you.
Day 66, Americans, their families, our allies, green card holders, all abandoned in Afghanistan, left to suffer, die under Taliban rule. 79 days since Joe Biden promised not to abandon them. 49 days now since Joe even mentioned them Not one time in 49 days. The Biden administration once referred to the Taliban terrorists as they are businesslike and professional. Here's what we're learning tonight. Taliban leaders handing out cash, promising plots of land to the families of suicide bombers who killed U.S. soldiers. Oh, how professional and businesslike of them. Now, sadly, that's not stopping the Biden administration from sending billions of your dollars to the Taliban in the name of humanitarian assistance. Oh, I would call that a shakedown and, of course, ransom. And this is in addition to the $83 billion in military equipment that Biden left behind and the untold amounts of cash and other currency that they left behind. It is an international disgrace, humiliation on the world stage. It sends a message of emboldenment to our enemies. And, yes, it scares to death our allies. Thank you, Joe Biden. And the Biden administration, they lost complete track of American citizens. They have no idea how many are there. They have no idea how many thousands of green card holders are there. Family members are abandoned there. And they don't know how many billions of dollars in sophisticated equipment they gave to the terrorists. But now back here at home, they want an ever-present window into your bank accounts. Oh, that makes sense. They want to monitor all of your transactions and figure out a way to tax every single nickel out of you. It's a core part of Biden's multi-trillion-dollar Build Back Better new Green Deal socialist spending bill that he never talks about, by the way, because he's trying to sneak it through. And according to the government's Joint Committee on Taxation, this plan would affect those making under $50,000 a year the most. Nearly 60% would see additional taxes from this government intrusion into your bank account. But I thought Biden promised not to raise taxes on anyone making over $400,000 a year. Okay, Joe Biden lying again. Never mind the Biden inflation tax, the high energy taxes. His press secretary propagandist, Circleback Psaki, was sure to reporters today that Build Back Better won't add a single penny, not 1 cent, even though they've been contradicted many times, to the national debt. A huge lie. Take a look.
The president still believes that Build Back Better will not add a dime to the national debt?
Correct, it won't.
Why would he? Why should Americans believe that?
Because it won't. Go ahead.
What if taxes that he says he wants to, get more taxes in? What if it doesn't happen? What if the economy goes sour? Lots of things can happen. What are you're going to tell from up there future generations, not even born yet, that they're not on the hook for this? Is that right?
That's right, and hopefully you'll report accurate information yourself.
Oh, because it won't? Paid liar Jen Psaki. After Afghanistan, the border, the economy, the COVID disaster, why would anyone in their right mind take the Biden administration at their word? Joe Biden promised to beat the virus. Now a brand new, more contagious and dangerous variant of the Delta variant is on the way. And while Joe is attempting to squeeze low and middle income Americans in order to pay for his new Green Deal Build Back Better plan, these same Americans are already suffering under record-setting inflation, spiked gas prices, heating prices, cooling prices, nationwide shortages. We literally pay more for every item we buy now, thanks to Joe. In order to combat these challenges, large corporations, they have to alter their own supply routes, suppliers, and of course, it costs more money. They pass that cost all on to you. Many small businesses, they're not so lucky and are now getting upended by the supply chain issues created by Joe Biden. And the White House is even reportedly floating an idea to use the National Guard to help alleviate the supply chain crisis that they caused. The situation now is so dire, many Americans are now hoarding food, other household goods. Once again, everyone's buying out the toilet paper everywhere they can get it. And it's about to get so much worse with mass resignations and mass firings for those that don't comply with Biden's vaccine mandate. And there are tens of thousands of them. In Chicago, now in the midst of a years-long crime wave, might soon be down to 1,000 police officers, as the city is also now trying to rip away earned pensions out of spite. That won't do well in court. And meanwhile, thousands of other police officers, firefighters, first responders, nurses, teachers, members of the military, they're all set to lose their jobs. And by the way, most of these people at this point, they have made up their mind. They're even willing to sacrifice their pensions because that's their decision. A lot of the vaccine hesitancy, could it be from the changing guidelines and dictates of the NIH, of the CDC, of the great Dr. Fauci, Joe Biden's mixed messaging every single day? First, it's no mask, one mask, two masks. Oh, then it's vax or mask. Now it's vax, mask, and booster. Nobody believes you anymore. Nobody believes a lot of what the government's saying. They have created the vaccine hesitancy themselves, and they try to blame conservatives. I'm the guy that believes in science. But breaking earlier, some good news from Southwest Airlines. That company is now dropping a plan to put unvaccinated staff on unpaid leave. Why? One reason. They won't have enough workers to fill their spots, and probably they'll head towards insolvency. And, of course, these are high-class problems, according to Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain. And according to the Washington Post, you, the American people, you need to stop ranting about short-staffed stores and supply chain woes. Instead, we just need to lower our expectations. Oh, really? Meanwhile, one top Biden advisor telling concerned Americans to get over it. Oh, you're not going to be able to get the jacket you want in 15 colors, but you'll at least be able to get a jacket. Okay. That sounds like Jimmy Carter's defeatist, you better turn down your heat and put on a sweater speech. And worst of all, Jen Psaki mocking Americans' concerns over supply chain issues, calling it, oh, the tragedy of the treadmill that's delayed, or Ron Klain, high-class problems, or Pete Buttigieg. If you want Christmas to be merry for your children and not have them disappointed by Santa, you better buy now. Take a look.
It was clear in March of 2020, when COVID hit, that the supply chains across the world had been disrupted. Even as the sort of work to fight back against COVID proceeded, it was crystal clear that things were not improving on supply chain. People couldn't get dishwashers and furniture and treadmills delivered on time, not to mention all sorts of other things. So why is it
the tragedy of the treadmill that's delayed?
Right.
Could you be any more pompous, any more obnoxious, frankly, any more repugnant? Major stores now rationing toilet paper. Basic, simple, everyday items, necessities, they're not on the shelves. Prices through the roof. We pay more for every item we buy because Joe gave up the energy independence that Donald Trump handed him. We now have inflation reaching a near 30-year high. Gas prices up on average about $1.50 a gallon and going higher. Now a barrel of oil headed towards $100 a barrel. Biden is still begging OPEC to produce more oil. He ought to be begging Texas and Oklahoma and North Dakota and Alaska. According to economists from Dartmouth and the University of College London, a recession is absolutely fast approaching. This is a massive crisis. Jen Psaki mocking the concern of millions of Americans who are now paying more for everything because of their bad policies. Pretty disgraceful, low-class public servant, but she speaks for Joe, or whoever is telling Joe what to say and what to do on any given day, if Joe even knows what day of the week it is. And now Psaki's friends on the radical left, they're turning up the pressure on West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. And they're not worried about inflation or a looming recession. No, they just want their $3.5 trillion new Green Deal socialism spending rammed through Congress. And recently, socialist Bernie Sanders, well, he pens an op-ed in Manchin's hometown newspaper, blasting Manchin for not signing off on his socialism that apparently the people in Vermont love. And now other progressives are now running ads in West Virginia like this one. Take a look.
My son, he was a welder, and he actually had to travel 2 hours from here just to have a decent pay.
One of my own children even moved to a big city, out of West Virginia because her and her husband felt like they couldn't survive here.
In the last 5 years, West Virginia's seen 60,000 people leave the state.
Joe Manchin, we need permanent long-term jobs. This whole state is depending on him to do something right.
So, West Virginia, in coming weeks, your Senator Manchin will have an important choice to make. Will he stand up for American capitalism, individualism, liberty, freedom for the people of West Virginia, or will he cave to the whims of the eco-socialists in the swamp in Washington, D.C., in his own party? Now, my message to West Virginians, if he caves and does the bidding of Bernie Sanders, he is not looking out for your interests. This Build Back Better New Green socialist agenda It's not going to create a single job in West Virginia. As a matter of fact, say bye-bye to the coal mining industry. Instead, it will obliterate the entire energy and coal industry in your state. It will destroy countless high-paying blue-collar jobs, all in the name of climate change. Build back better new Green Deal socialism. That's going to be a nightmare for West Virginia and a nightmare for the country.
On the timetable that we spoke about.
And Dr. Fauci, lastly, we know the best way to keep safe is to be vaccinated. But what are your guidelines for the upcoming holidays? Will you be giving out Halloween candy? What do we do Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the other holidays?
Well, Martha, I believe strongly that, particularly in the vaccinated people, if you're vaccinated and your family members are vaccinated, those who are eligible, and that is obviously very young children are not yet eligible, that you can enjoy the holidays. You can enjoy Halloween, trick-or-treating, and certainly Thanksgiving with your family and Christmas with your families. That's one of the reasons why we emphasize why it's so important to get vaccinated, not only for your own safety, for that of your family, but also for the good of the community to keep the level of infection down. When you do that, there's no reason at all why you can't enjoy the holidays in a family way, the way we've traditionally done it all along.
Okay, well, that's very good news. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Fauci.
Good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
And as we mentioned...
No more COVID around at all. You know, I also said something over the weekend that was taken completely out of context. I was asked, what could we predict for this winter, for like December and Christmas?
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, I say you hold off on that. I said, we don't know, because we've seen slopes that went down and then came back up. The best way to assure that we'll be in good shape as we get into the winter would be to get more and more people vaccinated. That was misinterpreted as my saying we can't spend Christmas with our families, which was absolutely not the case. I will be spending Christmas with my family. I encourage people, particularly the vaccinated people who are protected, to have a good, normal Christmas with your family. But it's just the way all of the other disinformation goes around. You say something talking about a landmark of a time, and it gets misinterpreted that I'm saying you can't spend family Christmas time, which is nonsense. You can.
And your point, and your point is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's when you're in a pandemic, it is very hard to predict 2 months out still.
That was, Kate, my absolute point in response to the question that was asked of me. Exactly as you said, I was asked to predict what the state of the pandemic would be when we get to December. And my response was, that's really dependent on us. It's difficult to predict, but the one thing we do have within our power to do is to make sure that there are less and less cases, and that diminishing slope that's going down continues to go down. And the way we can do that is by getting more and more people vaccinated. That was the point that I was making, not that you're not going to be able to spend Christmas with your family. I certainly am, that's for sure.
On vaccines, evidence out of New York is that mandates are working. New York City's mayor...
Mr. President, thank you so much for having us here at Mar-a-Lago.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's one word that could sum up the Biden administration, it would be crisis. There's the energy crisis, the supply chain crisis, the COVID crisis. If you look back on the last 10 months of the Biden administration, what grade would you give them?
Well, it's probably the worst presidency in history. I can't imagine. I used to say Jimmy Carter. Not a big fan of Bush getting us into the Middle East, to be honest with you. I think this is, though, the worst in the history of our country. If you look at Afghanistan and that horrible thing that happened to our nation with these young people being killed, and by the way, so badly injured, we have over 20, no arms, no legs, nobody ever talks about them. And then to leave $85 billion worth of the best military equipment, brand new, much of it brand new, better than what we have, right out of the box. And they didn't explode it. They didn't blow it up like they said.
Yeah.
They did a couple of old planes that were not very valuable. No, I think that was the worst. And I'll tell you what, it's getting to be pretty close. What's happening on the border is one of the great embarrassments for our country also.
Well, so we'll talk about those individually, but what grade would you give the Biden administration?
I think you have to say an F. and not an F plus. It would be an F. It's a failed administration. It's a disaster. I've never seen anything like it. And by the way, I wish he'd do well. You know, I love the country more than I love anything. Family, God, country, you know, we have to take care of our country. I would love to see him do well. I don't think there's ever been a greater embarrassment as an administration. And we had everything ready to go. We handed him on a plate, whether it was the border or Afghanistan. We were getting out, but we were going to get out with great dignity. And
about Hunter Biden and his special counsel. This week, Merrick Garland was asked again about whether or not he would appoint a special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden. Again, Hunter Biden, who couldn't get his art, so-called art, listed in any gallery until his father became president, now selling at the same prices as a Monet or a Degas.
Yeah.
No special counsel. That's gotta eat it.
I think that's the least of it. But the art is so terrible. So he's getting $500,000 a painting.
Right.
And I was seeing that a Monet was getting less. Okay. Yeah. It's such a terrible situation. And we're not going to learn who the buyers are. Should I buy one?
But isn't
It'll
Hunter
give me great
Biden,
access to the White House.
But they say that there's a wall. They have no idea. But there are people who are actually coming to the exhibits. So,
first of all, the concept of it is ridiculous. And you said it couldn't get in the past. I don't think he ever painted before. I think he just started. So he's learning by the numbers. And let me tell you, I believe that as bad as that is, it's peanuts compared to other things. Okay, but. It's so obviously horrible. I've had people say that's a terrible thing. That is a terrible thing, what's going on. And they're getting numbers like nobody has ever gotten.
A lot of money
nobody's
funneling
gotten. In fact, I'm thinking about opening up my own gallery.
I'm
giving it, I'm going to
How much are you going to charge?
I think a couple of $1 million a painting.
Yeah?
If he gets 500,
who are you going to paint?
I'll paint whatever the hell I have to paint to get $2 million.
Mr. President, thank you so much for having us here at this beautiful Mar-a-Lago, and thank you for taking the time for us.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you very much.
That's all right. Let him go. Let him go. That's okay. That's all right. Why don't you hang out and talk to me after this is over, okay? Well, thank you. Look. Thank you. That's right. This is not a Trump rally.
He's assured us the vaccines are safe. I know they're safe. Vice President Harris and I know they're safe. Fire! But a context with autocrats, autocratic governments around the world.
If one of y'all says some silly ass name, this whole class is going to feel my wrath.
The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Son of a bitch!
Are you guys in the rain? Or is that not rain? I thought that was rain. It is?
Yes, it appears to be raining.
But you know, in the 2020 census, which is now 2 censuses ago.
Sippy Cup Joe is, Magoo.
Yes.
I'm coming directly to you for ask a quick favor. He doesn't pay his fair share. Don't worry about that. He doesn't pay his fair share.
Would you please shut the hell up?
Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone.
You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up.
Rock and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
Shut up, you shit. You barrel of monkey nuts.
Billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion. Donald Trump doesn't understand health care.
Ah, fuck you.
And you can,
No and then. No and then. No and then. Stop piss me off.
And
I'm gonna put my foot in your ass if you say and then again.
Or the mom and
My mama said that. Mama.
or when you're
Identification.
How do you think Joe Biden is doing as president?
we feel good about where we are.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The answer is, I believe America's dead.
No.
America is coming back together. That when they leave the saloon, the receptionist, the salon.
What a maroon.
I would have been prepared.
He's a good lawyer because he's a good person who's a lawyer.
Stupid. Point. Misspelled.
I'll always protect the American people. I promise you that.
I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
That's all I have to say about that.
I don't think that the media cares at all, but certainly the American public does. And you can see that reflected in Joe Biden's absolutely dismal approval numbers. People are sick and tired of his weak and incompetent leadership, and they are completely rejecting his socialist agenda. Americans want secure borders, not open borders. Americans want safety and security. They want lower taxes, not higher taxes. Americans want more freedom, not more government control. And you can see this day in and day out by their absolute rejection of what is coming down the pipeline from the Biden administration, and in these numbers that we are seeing come out that show his just pathetic poll numbers day after day. And it's because even though the American media isn't covering it, the American people are paying attention to it, and they don't want it, and they are tired of what this administration is delivering.
If Donald Trump were president, I argue Afghanistan never would have happened. Based on, he would obliterate them if they, once the Taliban went on the move and started taking over every province. We'd also have Bagram, and it was conditions-based anyway. The chaos at the border we know wouldn't have occurred. The president got us energy independence. He wouldn't have given that up, and that means inflation would be down considerably because everything we now buy costs more, $1.50 more a gallon just to fill up our tank, heat and cool our homes, every product we buy. That adds to the massive spike in inflation. I don't think you'd see the hostilities of China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia either that we're now seeing. So all of it's preventable, and Joe seems checked out. The American people see that, do you think?
Absolutely, they see it. Under President Trump, our country was winning. Our allies actually respected us, and our enemies actually feared us. And right now, they're all laughing at us because Joe Biden has continued to fail. And every single thing he touches, he screws up. We were doing incredible under President Trump. Our economy was booming. Our border was secure. We were actually being tough and pushing back against China and other countries who had been taking advantage of the United States for far too long. And under Joe Biden, they know not only is he not capable of running this country, but he's not capable of standing up to any other country either. And so they're walking all over him, and it's the reason everything he touches, he ruins. And not only do I agree that if he continues down this path, he's handing over the keys to President Trump, but he's also giving Republicans back the House, the Senate, and I sure hope that we take a number of governors' offices as well, because we're going to need strong conservative governors across this country pushing back against this president for a long time.
That we had our third and probably worst natural disaster in the state of Louisiana in the last week. And of course, I'm referring to the catastrophic visit of Joe Biden to New Orleans, as if he cares. There are families of servicemen. There are families of servicewomen. There are families in this country that need support, that need leadership. There are people in this country, and by the way, this is a country by the people and for the people, not a government that is running the people, right? The government is by the people and for the people. The people are not by the government and for the government. But anyway, it just disgusts me that in the shadow, in the wake of these terrible, terrible things, terrible, terrible decisions that have been made, And if you disagree with me, that's okay. We can still have a beer. It's okay. But the fish stinks from the head down, and we did not need that stench in New Orleans. We have enough to deal with without having someone try to get a... How many times I wonder, did he look at his watch today as people were explaining the terrible tragedies that have happened in the state? I love my state of Louisiana. I'm an adopted son of Louisiana. How many times did this person look at his watch today? I don't know. I'm just guessing it was a lot. Truly disgusted. Truly disgusted. And if that offends you in some way, that's okay. This is my opinion. I'm not a news person. This is my opinion as a citizen of the greatest country in the world and as a resident, an adopted son of the amazing, great state of Louisiana. We didn't need this on top of that. Listen to the Opry tonight. I think you'll love it. I know I'm gonna. Bye.
Hey, Facebook fam. I feel like I have not done a video in a really long time, but I wanted to make this video in light of so much information that is coming up from OSHA about all of the mandates for small businesses and vaccines. Okay, first and foremost, I want to answer this question. A lot of people were asking me, Candace, why do you say that you're proudly unvaccinated? I understand that you chose not to get the vaccine, but it's a little strange that you keep saying that you're proud of not being vaccinated. And I want to first explain that. The reason why I'm proud that I made a personal medical decision not to get vaccinated is because I was told when I was growing up that it's important to stand up to bullies. I was told when I was growing up that you should never make a decision because you feel peer pressure, and you should never make a decision because all the cool kids are doing it. All the cool kids are smoking cigarettes, so you should smoke cigarettes, or feeling like you're going to be left out. When I was growing up, I was told that those are not the right motivations in terms of decision making. And it takes a lot of courage when there's a lot of pressure and you have celebrities that are sticking their arm out and saying, I did this and I did that, to stand by your convictions and to say, you know what, I understand that everybody is doing this, but I actually want to take time to think about something, to research, and to make sure that it's the right decision for me. It takes a lot of courage, and it was almost impossible, especially in terms of the censorship that we saw, not only the celebrity support, for Big Pharma, but also the censorship that we saw where it felt like we were not actually being given a productive, honest dialogue about COVID-19 or about the vaccines. So I was proud of myself because it felt like I was back in high school or back in middle school, and once again provided an opportunity to stand up to bullies and to say, and to assert myself and say, if I make a decision, it's going to be because I want to make that decision. And for me, after getting all of the data and all the facts, I have still made a decision not to get the vaccine. And I made that decision irrespective of people that have gotten the vaccine. I think that medical decisions should remain personal, and some people feel, you know what, Candace, I'm in a category, I'm in an age group where it makes sense for me to get the vaccine. And I like the data that's coming out, and it makes sense for me, and I think, great, that's something that you should do if it's the right decision. You guys know that I work with the Daily Wire. I host my show on the Daily Wire, and we all of the hosts of Daily Wire, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, me, Andrew Clavin, Ben Shapiro, we all have different perspectives about the vaccine. Some of us are vaccinated, some of us are not vaccinated. I have been loudly not vaccinated, and similarly, although opposingly, Ben has been loudly pro-vaccine. Ben has gotten the vaccine, I have not. And Ben and I disagree about the vaccine in terms of our personal decisions, but one thing that we very much do agree on is that we have a right to choose, and that we have a right to debate, and that we have a right to make different decisions. Like, it's okay for Ben to want something and for me not to want something. And we feel that our right to choose what we want in terms of our personal medical decisions needs to be protected and fought for. As you guys know, again, OSHA made the announcement, and then they issued the mandates that they want employees to be vaccinated. They want small businesses with 100 employees or more, to force their employees, essentially forcing them to get the vaccine, or they're going going to have to submit to weekly testing and wear a mask, which is now just a method of shaming people for making a personal medical decision. And when this announcement came out, I didn't know how the Daily Wire was going to react, and couldn't be prouder that they instantly said, this is unconstitutional, we will not stand behind this, and we stand behind all of the employees of the Daily Wire who have a right to make their own personal decisions. And the Daily Wire is, if you have not seen it yet, suing the Biden administration, which is incredible because it was going to have to be me. If it wasn't them, you know me, I will sue someone. The Daily Wire has taken a really strong stance, and obviously you've seen the very heavy fines that they are saying that they are going to issue towards businesses that stand up to them. And despite all of this, the Daily Wire has said, we are doing this because we will not be coercing or bullying our employees. This is our business. We get to decide how we want to function day to day, and the Biden administration has no right to do that. So I just wanted to basically shout out the Daily Wire for that, and to tell the rest of you who needed to hear it that it's okay for you to make your own decisions, and to never be bullied, to never be coerced, and to never allow a government to make you feel that you have to do something or your entire livelihood is going to be threatened. If you don't take a stand for something, you will fall apart. You will not be okay with yourself, and at the end of the day, you have to be okay with the decisions that you make for you and for your family. And those decisions can be difficult in the time, especially with a lot of pressure and with these extraordinary mandates, but I think in the long run, you will end up on the side of goodness and on the side of righteousness. The Daily Wire, we're not asking for you guys to donate to our lawsuits. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to suddenly be like, please go to Daily Wire and donate to the lawsuit. We just want to encourage everybody to continue to watch our content. You know, we're creating really amazing shows. I have worked really hard on my show, and we're running a special deal for people that want to sign up to the Daily Wire just to support our business and our content. You can register, you can sign up, you can subscribe at www.dailywire.com/subscribe, and you can use our unique code RESIST, and you will get 25% off, and they'll know that you saw this video and wanted to support our work. Again, you get Ben Shapiro, you get me, you get Michael Knowles, and you get to support a business that is taking a stance against the Biden administration, which thinks that it can function like a dictatorship, and it quite frankly cannot. So use the code RESIST, www.dailywire.com/subscribe, and enjoy all of our content. I'm also going to be working on some really special projects this year that I hope you guys tune into. Anyways, just wanted to quickly say hi and thank again the Daily Wire for taking a stance against the crazy Biden authoritarian rule. Bye, guys. Hey, Facebook. So I had such a crazy day today, and I just wanted to, I guess, vent to the world. Not vent because I'm angry, but I guess because I'm frustrated, and because I had this discussion today on my show that it almost moved me to tears. It definitely moved my audience to tears. And I was speaking with a defector from North Korea, a young woman about 28 years old. You may have heard her story. But I have to tell you that hearing this young woman, Yami Kim, tell me about what it was like to grow up in North Korea and how scary it is for her to see what is happening in America, what it was like to grow up eating grasshoppers and cicadas and eating tree bark and not being allowed to earn anything, having everything be owned and controlled by the state, to have an entire population that is malnourished, an entire population that is starving, and learning in school, as they do in North Korea, that the reason that they're starving and the reason that they're malnourished and the reason that things are this way is because of America. She said it's the propaganda in the school. It's just no matter what's going on, it's because of America. They don't have electricity. They can't have a living. They have to turn to the black market to even buy a movie. They're not even allowed to watch movies that go against the state. Every piece of content and media that they see in the school system shows them people that die not for love, but for the state. And she didn't realize that there was anybody that lived differently until somebody in her family had smuggled the movie Titanic. And she thought, when she watched this movie, the ending, and he died for love, that the actor must be dead and he must have been killed by the state, because you're not allowed to die for anything but the state. And she's sitting here telling me that she's in America and she's at Columbia University and she's listening to kids that have similar propaganda, that their entire country is being torn apart. Our entire country is clearly falling apart. Look at the gas prices. Go look at your gas price. Go anywhere right now and ask people how they're living, right? Everywhere you look, you see that America is falling apart. And she goes, and yet you go to the university, she goes to Columbia University, and the kids all think it's because of white supremacy. She's like, it's like scary propaganda. They can't awake themselves to the fact that no, what happened in North Korea was happening because the government was corrupt. What is happening in America is happening because our government is corrupt, because our government is stealing. What is happening all across Western civilizations is happening because governments are corrupt, because they have gotten together, because there was a globalist agenda, because they are stealing in broad daylight from the people, because they have stumbled upon an existential crisis. COVID-19 is going to happen forever. So this is the reason why we have to impoverish you. This is the reason why we have to shut down your businesses. This is the reason that you're not allowed to earn a living. And what's happening in the process? The state is going to pick up everything. The state will own everything. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your job. And who do you think is going to come up behind and buy all of the housing market? Who do you think is going to come up behind and own all the property that we're not allowed to own anymore? What do you think is the next step in this, stopping you from being able to provide for your family? I genuinely, and I'm saying this really from the bottom of my heart, like for the people who hate Trump, I don't even care. You can hate Trump. I don't even care if you hate me, hate Candace Owens. I don't even care. When are you going to wake up to what's happening in this country? Like, what is it actually going to take, right? You are not allowed to work when the government tells you you're not allowed to work. Your children are being forced masked. Your children are learning propaganda in school, okay? You're being constantly told to think about race. You're being constantly told that the only reason all of this is happening is white supremacy. You've got inflation through the roof, despite the fact that gas prices are astronomical. Biden has just announced they're going to shut down more pipelines because the Green New Deal. Because we need clean energy solutions. So you're going to have to go and maybe fill up your tank for $10 per gallon because, you know what, we need Green New Deals. You need to just commit to the idea that is bigger than how you live day to day. The idea is bigger. You're learning actively in school how to be an idiot, okay? You have actual people, right, with credentials, tenured professors that legitimately are telling you that men can be women and women can be men, that men can give birth. What is it going to take for you to wake up to the fact that this entire nation, is being run by ideologues, and the job and the goal of an ideologue is to run you into the ground until you have nothing. You will have nothing. America is becoming a country of the have and the have-nots. They are wiping out the middle class systematically, okay? The middle class, the same middle class they used, okay, to garner votes, to go out, protest for racism. Oh my God, racism, don't look at us, don't look at us. Oh, here's what we're gonna do. We have to put in place policies. We need to, you know what we do? We need more government. We need more government. The only way we're gonna be able to solve this is if we grow government. We're gonna need a COVID force. We're gonna need a racism force. We're gonna need trillions and billions more of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars, okay? Because you're gonna own nothing and nothing. You're all gonna work for the state, okay? So we can solve these problems like climate change. Climate change is never gonna go away. We're just gonna keep saying like every time it snows or rains, we have to tax you. Yeah, climate change. Let's all work on this big concept of climate change. Oh, I see that we solved and now gay marriage is legal. Let's move on to trans. Like until kids can pick their gender and we can grow government and we can take more control over the classrooms for equality, like this issue will never be solved. What is it going to take, okay? Because I can't even think up, and I don't even want to say, I don't even want to curse it. I can't even think up what's coming around the corner, right? I am convinced that we are going to go through a very real period of starvation in this country. And I am convinced also that you will be starving, you will have no job, and you will still have people that are convinced that's because of white supremacy. Yeah. You're going to have children taken away by the state. They're going to say, oh, we took your children away because you didn't vax your child. And you must be vaxxed or else the state, we're going to have to, we could have them legitimately proposing to send people that are unvaccinated to camps. And you would still have people saying, it's because of white supremacy. It's because we didn't build the Tower of George Floyd high enough. That is the level of complete and utter nonsense that we are dealing with in this country. What is it going to take for you to wake up to the fact that this is tyranny? That this is the stuff that they convinced you, that media brainwash is real, okay? America's not special. What happens in China? What happens in North Korea? State-sanctioned TV. Their job is to make you agree with the state, okay? The state is in control. You sacrifice everything to the state. That is their job, and you're still watching it. I went on Twitter today. This is a real headline on MSNBC, okay? Real headline. Opinion. Why inflation is actually a good thing. Inflation, your high gas prices, it's a good thing. And all you have to do is realize that it's actually a good thing and your life will get better. What is wrong with people that are still watching these networks? How do you not understand that these people work for the government? How do you not actually objectively look at your life and say, my life is getting worse. I am poorer. I'm more unhappy. My kids are not safe. I am being forced to inject chemicals in my arm, irrespective of whether or not I want it or feel that I need it. I am being told that I must do it in order to keep my job. People that I didn't vote for or elect, like OSHA and the CDC, are making laws and mandates. That is not the way our Constitution works. Have you read the Constitution? Do you know what the Constitution says? Do you understand that this administration is walking over, they're ripping up the Constitution because the Constitution cannot exist in the same place that a communist country exists. There could be no God when the government is going to become God. There could be no nation under God when they want a nation under an omnipotent government. What is it going to take for you to wake up? How much more will you take before you wake up? Are you waiting for until it's too late? Are you waiting for until, like Biden proposed, they're going to have federal thugs show up and make sure you're complying at your door, complying to their mandates because there's an emergency? Everybody knows emergencies last for 2 years. It's an emergency. My house is burning down. Cool. Come here in 2 years because an emergency lasts for 2 years. That's the idea, right? Emergencies, and these temporary emergency authorizations last for 2 years. What's it going to take for you to wake up? Because let me tell you, you don't have much more time left. You do not have much more time left. This is literally like my family is now coming up with the plan B. What's it going to take? How do we live off of the grid? How do we make sure that we have enough food to live for years? Where can we go? How do we leave this country, if we need to protect our children? This is the kind of stuff that we're starting to think, because I don't know if some of you guys who are so brainwashed by state propaganda are ever going to wake up. You genuinely believe that people like me and Donald Trump are your enemy. And you know for a fact that your life was better under President Trump. You know for a fact, and you won't admit it. Because you've become an ideologue. Because the state has brainwashed you into turning into one of its soldiers. Even if you can't afford to fill up your tank, you've been so brainwashed that you're still going to defend the very same state that makes it so that you can't. That's all I've got for you. I just needed to rant about that. And I hope you guys will pay attention and watch the interview with the North Korean defector that almost moved me to tears today, filming on my show. It'll premiere tomorrow night on the Daily Wire, obviously. dailywire.com/subscribe, and you can use my code RESIST. And you can get 25% off. Code RESIST, dailywire.com/subscribe. Bless you all.
Checked in?
Yeah, thank you.
Here's your AIDS ribbon.
No, thanks.
You don't want to wear an AIDS ribbon?
No.
But you have to wear an AIDS ribbon.
I have to?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't want to.
But everyone wears the ribbon. You must wear the ribbon.
You know what you are? You're a ribbon bully.
Hey, you, come back here. Come back here and put this on.
Hey, where's your ribbon? Oh, I don't wear the ribbon.
You don't wear the ribbon? Aren't you against AIDS?
Yeah, I'm against AIDS. I mean, I'm walking on it. I just don't wear the ribbon.
Who do you think you are?
Put the ribbon on.
Hey, Cedric, Bob, this guy won't wear a ribbon.
Who? Who doesn't want to wear the ribbon? So, what's it going to be? Are you going to wear the ribbon? No, never. But I'm wearing the ribbon. He's wearing the ribbon. We are all wearing the ribbon. So why aren't you going to wear the ribbon? This is America. I don't have to wear anything I don't want to wear.
What are we going to do with him?
I guess we're just going to have to teach him to wear the ribbon.
Our Constitution opens with the words, as trite as it sounds, we the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government.
What did you say?
You and I.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
Not some force in a distant capital, not some powerful force that we have no control over. It's us.
No. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. 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 Hell no. 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 I refuse. No. No.
It's we the people.
You know, it's amazing. You are 100% wrong. I mean, nothing you've said has been right.
Political decisions made by Joe Biden and made by Kamala Harris.
Senator, one of the problems here is that the Flores Agreement basically says that children, that unaccompanied minors, cannot be held for longer than 30 days. So then the administration is under the responsibility. They have to then find either a family member or a U.S. sponsor that can take care of them. I mean, at some point, is there something in the law that can change, or are we just going to be under this situation as more and more unaccompanied minors keep coming across?
So there absolutely is something in the law that could change. I introduced legislation that would expedite review for people who came here, that would keep families together, so you wouldn't separate families, but it wouldn't do catch and release. It wouldn't release them. Instead, it would provide for 500 new immigration judges who would immediately adjudicate asylum claims. That's the way the rule of law is meant to work.
Right.
And even more fundamentally, we know how to solve this problem, which was the Remain in Mexico agreement. That's what President Trump negotiated with the government of Mexico. Last year, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. It worked. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ripped it to shreds, and they produced this disaster, and they have no answer. And I got to say, you know, you see rich Democrats basically saying to Texas and the rest of the country, oh, you silly people, you shouldn't worry about this. And they say this while they're at their fancy enclaves, while they're whining and dining. Well, I've introduced legislation today in the Senate. It's called the Stop the Surge Act, and it creates new ports of entry for these 2 million illegal immigrants. So instead of having 15,000 Haitians under a bridge in Del Rio, Texas, Del Rio just has 35,000 people, its population. That's half the city coming in one day in Del Rio. Well, what my bill does is it designates new ports of entry, like Palo Alto, California, like St. Helena, California, like Yountsville, California, like Greenwich, Connecticut, like Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, like Cambridge, Massachusetts, Martha's Vineyard, Block Island, Rhode Island, Governor's Island, Scarsdale, New York, North Hero, Vermont, and Nantucket. So rich Democrats can be sitting there and suddenly see 10, 20, 30, 50,000 illegal immigrants like we're seeing in Texas on a daily basis. And I can just envision them in Nantucket sipping a martini going, oh, goodness, they want to come to our clubs. They would be horrified, but they need to face the disaster of their policies and the humanitarian misery they're causing.
To quote you, if Washington Democrats would endure a fraction of the suffering of South Texas, the laws would be enforced, the wall would be built, and the Remain in Mexico policy would be re-implemented. You introduced it today. Does it go anywhere?
Look, the Democrats aren't going to move it because they're perfectly happy being hypocrites. These are the same people who, at President Obama's birthday party, take off their masks and party like it's 1999. These are the same people who, Joe Biden, when he goes out to dinner in Washington, D.C., he and Jill don't wear masks. These are the same people, Nancy Pelosi, when she does fancy fundraisers with rich Democrats, they don't wear masks. They make the serving staff wear masks, and that's really how they treat much of America, like their serving staff. It is... Joe Biden needs to come to the southern border and see it firsthand. Kamala Harris, our border czar, come to the Rio Grande Valley. You know, Bill Dana, a few weeks ago, yeah. I did roundtables in South Texas with ranchers and farmers and sheriffs and law enforcement and elected officials. Virtually all of the elected officials in South Texas are Democrat. Historically, it's been a Democratic part of the state. Almost to a person, the elected Democrats looked at me and said, listen, if my party is for open borders, I can't be with them. Nobody can defend this disaster if they see it.
which goes back to your opening question, Bill. Why do they do it in the middle of the night? Because they can't defend it, and their only strategy is hide it from the American people.
Senator, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Great to have you.
Thank you.
And a Prince reference. I mean, amazing. There's a chilling report saying that China tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile in August. The White House says competition...
about why it's important to get vaccinated, why these vaccines are safe, why they can still kill you even if you are under the age of 27. We need to be clear and direct about our messaging.
We have been stunned at the overreach of the Biden administration. What will we do? I will issue an executive order barring any South Carolina cabinet agency from issuing or enforcing any vaccine mandate. Number two, I will require all state agencies, including the 19 cabinet agencies, to report to me any inquiry or request for vaccination from the federal government. That is allowed by law. Both of those things are allowed by law. Now, we are one of 8 states who are in a lawsuit already against the federal government for its unlawful orders against federal contractors, and it extends beyond them to subcontractors and others in contact with subcontractors. We have filed a lawsuit led by the state of Georgia, joined by 6 other states. There may be others joining later. That's what we're doing with the federal mandate on the federal agencies and the federal employees. But there's another arena, and that is the one involving the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Today, the Biden administration, through the OSHA administration, published regulations requiring most businesses in the country, except the smaller ones, to vaccinate their employees or seek financial punishment. It is unbelievable that the federal government would issue such an unlawful order. It is questionable whether the Congress could even do that, but certainly it cannot be done by executive order or through a federal agency, least of all the Occupational Safety and Health Act. It is difficult to believe that we are seeing what we are seeing. The business judgment is being overwhelmed and ignored. The rights of the people, perhaps civil rights, are being ignored. And the parents' interest in their own children in schools that they pay for with tax money are being trampled, subjected to criminal investigation. It is hard to believe that this is what is happening in our country. So, on the federal employee, the federal agency regulation, we are in a lawsuit and we are fighting that. I'm confident that other states will join in different ways. On the new OSHA regulation that has been published today, we will fight that aggressively. We have been and will continue to fight these unlawful regulations and acts and intrusions on the rights of our people with all the strength that we have. Any lawful objection, any lawful act that we can take to protect our people, we will do.
Or the politicians, once you get a power, you will never relinquish it. Do you think that the 4 feet of marble that holds you above high in this chamber will help you from the fate of humanity which you are unleashing? No! It won't! Your children and your children's children will be subjugated! They will be asked, how many vaccines have you had? Have you been a good little Nazi? Hail Fauci! Hail Fauci! Hail Fauci! Hail Fauci! There has been a lot of talk about the Nuremberg Code. Well, I brought you a copy. You are all in violation of Section 1. Yes, you, Dr. Wooten. You are in violation of the Nuremberg Code, which is international law, and the definition is...
Thank you, sir. Your time has expired.
The definition, we shall not be coerced. All of this is coercion. The vaccine passport is coercion, and the penalty for violating the Nuremberg Code is...
violating the orientation of the meeting. Please take a seat. Please take a seat.
Are there enough of us here for you now? Are you listening to the people? Because the people have decided they don't want to participate in this charade anymore.
And you have done an excellent job on dividing society, family and friends. Fear is the real virus here. Nothing makes sense.
You're acting like terrorists. And the Taliban, Nathan Fletcher, from what your stance, you'd get along with the Taliban very, very well. They would applaud you.
I will not submit to a vaccination that is not thoroughly tested and vetted, that has documented side effects. People are dying and being debilitated from it. I will not subject my children to this.
We talk about personal responsibility in getting the vaccine. Dr. Wilma Wooten, not once have I heard you or any other health officer talk about the importance of the fact that 78% of the people admitted to the ICU were overweight or obese. You nor our elected officials, minus Jim Desmond, have ever mentioned the effectiveness of maintaining healthy weight, exercise, proper nutrition, vitamin supplementation. Not a peep. We are talking about health? We talking about health? Instead, we get wear a mask, stay home, close your business, and take this shot, none of which boosts your immune system. Don't talk to me about personal responsibility until every employer is held responsible for injury resulting from this shot when they require it, or big pharma companies are held liable.
Just a gentlewoman from Georgia seek recognition.
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and advise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
I've introduced articles of impeachment on President Joe Biden. The reason why I've done so is for his disgraceful actions having to do with Afghanistan, abandoning Americans, arming and terrorist nation, the Taliban, which is treason, giving aid and comfort to our enemies. But also, I've also introduced articles of impeachment for the national security crisis created at our southern border, which today is actually being invaded. But heading into this week, perhaps the most evil and disgusting thing that is going to happen in this 117th Congress is the bill that's going to be introduced that makes it a federal law to allow abortion up until the day of birth. This wall says, "In God we trust." And if that is the case, then this Congress will reject this evil bill and protect the innocent unborn. If this nation becomes a nation where we have such a federal law that can kill a baby up until the day of birth, then God will no longer provide protection in His grace over America. Thank you. I yield the remainder of my time.
Members, I have a background in nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons study. And I also have civil engineering, aerospace engineering, and marine biology as core-related subjects of study. I came here this afternoon not only to represent the people of Barbados, but to bring a certain educational perspective to what a tremendous amount of people have been asking me, with the kind of background that I have, in understanding what is actually going on. So I have one question, which I don't want a response to. I don't really need a response to the question. And then I have a series of points I would like to back up that question with. And I'd like to address this question directly to the Chief Medical Officer and to my lady over there in the corner. I'd like to ask the Chief Medical Officer, please, to provide evidence for the public education that describes the isolation of a SARS-CoV-2 virus directly from a sample taken from a deceased patient, where the patient sample was not first combined with any other source of genetic material, i.e. monkey kidney cells, aka Vero cells, liver cancer cells. A lot of people believe that the SARS-CoV-2 is a novel coronavirus. SARS-CoV-2 is a subclade of the beta coronavirus family. And how do we know this? Simply because we did cross-referencing via the international taxonomy reviews and then correlated those with actual genetic sequences and reviewed them against the patent records that were available, and it is apparent that the declaration of a novel coronavirus is a fallacy. There are several coronavirus sequences that have been uploaded, but there was not one single identified novel coronavirus, none at all. Furthermore, patents on coronavirus sequences were sought as early as 1999. Up until 1999, patenting of coronavirus sequencing was uniquely isolated to veterinary science. First vaccine patent for coronavirus was sought by Pfizer, and more specifically, the patenting of the S-spike protein, the same thing we've allegedly only just discovered. First patent application was filed January 28, 2000, 21 years ago. There is nothing new about this. And in support of that, we have this document. This is the evidence supporting that. This is the evidence which shows that that SARS is no naturally evolved virus. It's not a naturally evolved virus. No one has ever produced a safe and effective vaccine against a coronavirus. It has never been done, and it never will be done, simply because it's not possible. Therefore, I go on and I quote, the co-receptor dependent phagocytic general method of action, for those who don't understand that, okay, this is science talk, okay? I'm following the science now, so bear with me. General method of action for infectivity and pathogenicity, in other words, this is what makes it so deadly, okay, of SARS-CoV-2 appears to be specifically related to cumulative charge resulting from inserts placed on the surface of the spike receptor binding domain. What does that tell you? This is a lab-engineered phenomenon. And how do we know that? We can back up that simply because we have a document produced and very kindly submitted to us by our friends in the CCP Intelligence Service, who gave us this document where it says 2 mutations were critical for bat-to-human transmission of Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus. This is where AstraZeneca and some of the other vaccine manufacturers get their vector from. It's just that there's one small problem, is that it outlines direct collusion between the Communist Chinese Party and those who were building it. We recognized HKU4 spike, aiming to build its capacity to mediate viral entry into human cells. To this end, we introduced 2 single mutations. We introduced 2 single mutations, not they, we. S76R and S76A into HKU4 spike. The S76R mutation was expected to restore the HPC motif. I go on and quote further. We produced retroviruses pseudotyped with HKU4 spike, referred to as HKU4 pseudoviruses, in human cells.
Sir, I think I've given you a fair amount of time.
No, I'm not done yet. I just want to address my lady doctor in the corner. We're going to have a drink over this, by the way. When I challenged you with regard to your ingredients of the Pfizer vaccine, I had good reason to do so, because I hold in my hands an internal document from Pfizer Laboratories, which was given to us by a very special person who we have contact with, called Reverse Engineering the Source Code of the BioNTech Pfizer SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. And this is very, very critical, because it outlines the chemical and the biological processes which were very, very carefully manipulated in order to be able to produce an mRNA that also contained a very, very dangerous toxin to the human body. Do you know what that toxin is? That toxin is called graphene oxide. And every single one of these vaccines in a 30-milligram shot contains 15 billion nanoparticles or lipid carrier particles within the mRNA sequence. 15 billion nanoparticles. And let me tell you how graphene oxide works when it gets into the body. Because when the spike protein then binds itself to our blood cells and so on, graphene oxide then starts to build a structure. And this is why we have people with blood clots and we have people with heart failure, sudden heart failure. Barbados is actually a signatory to the Convention on the Prohibition and Development and Production and Stockpiling of Bacteriological and Toxic Weapons. And we signed that treaty on the 16th of July 1976. However, the patent databases that we have accessed proves that COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines are in fact a bioweapon. And how do we support that? Because we have a copy of the mysteriously deleted Wuhan databases that tell us everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon.
Reveal hospitals have been counting patients who died from serious pre-existing conditions as COVID-19 deaths. One America's Pearson Sharp has more, as the CDC counts over 51,000 patients who actually died from heart attacks as opposed to the coronavirus.
The Centers for Disease Control have updated their death counts for coronavirus and reveal yet again that COVID-19 is rarely the actual cause of death among coronavirus patients. According to the CDC themselves, of the 220,000 deaths attributed to the coronavirus, 87,000 of them died from pneumonia and influenza. Another 17,000 died from chronic respiratory diseases, and 26,000 died from respiratory distress syndrome. 44,000 patients died from hypertensive diseases, 23,000 died from heart disease, and a whopping 28,000 died from cardiac arrest and heart failure. Yet all of these, even patients who died from heart attacks, were marked down as dying from the coronavirus. Doctors who spoke with One American News explained that 131,000 patients who are being considered COVID-19 deaths already had life-ending diseases, including cancer, dementia, and even end-stage renal failure. And according to the CDC, again, if you look at place of death, you'll see that some 10,000 patients who died from COVID were on hospice care, meaning they were terminally ill to begin with and were already expected to die. Doctors tell One American News that all of these patients were critically ill and likely died from their pre-existing conditions without any help from the coronavirus. However, they explain that the CARES Act, passed by Congress in March, gives hospitals a 20% bonus on their diagnosis-related group paid for by Medicare. Essentially, that means doctors are being paid to list deaths as coronavirus without any indication the patient's death was actually COVID-related. The 1918 Spanish flu is often used as an example of a comparable pandemic, and perhaps it's more comparable than most people realize, according to the National Institutes of Health and even Dr. Anthony Fauci himself, in a 2008 paper explained that the majority of deaths during the 1918 and 1919 pandemic were not caused by the influenza alone. Instead, Dr. Fauci says that the vast majority of deaths were caused by bacterial pneumonia. Exactly what the CDC shows we're witnessing again today. The CDC backs these numbers up, explaining that coronavirus itself is responsible for just 6% of all deaths listed as coronavirus related. The other 94% of deaths are due to pre-existing comorbidities, including serious illnesses and advanced age. However, despite this report being officially published by the CDC, So far, the mainstream media have completely ignored it, instead continuing to hype a pandemic that seems less dangerous every day.
But we're also hearing something from the CDC. They're investigating a possible link between a heart condition and the vaccine in teens and young adults. What do we know?
Keyword possible. So here's the latest on this. First of all, just some terminology. This is a condition called myocarditis. That refers to an inflammation of the heart muscle. Right now, there are only 14 cases. Luckily, most of them are mild. The vast majority presented about 4 days after the second dose, more common in men compared to women, by the way. And right now, what's really important as you hear this headline, the number they are seeing is not greater than the background rate that we normally see every day, every year in this country, but the CDC is looking into it.
Perspective, please, because people hear this, they'll get concerned about the vaccine.
100%. So first of all, myocarditis, you can see that with acute COVID. You can see that with post-COVID syndrome. The risks associated with the vaccine, possibly of this condition, way less than the risks of natural or post-COVID affecting the heart. And right now, I think this is a really good sign, you guys, the CDC being completely transparent that they're looking into this. But right now, there is no firm link.
If you've been to the store lately, you may have been met with scenes like this. Empty shelves from the cereal aisle to deodorant and paper goods, everyday items in increasingly short supply. Data from last week shows just how widespread the problem is. 16% of beverages were out of stock at the nation's grocery stores, 14% of snack foods, and 13% of frozen items out of stock.
Makes me kind of angry, like, why?
It's the latest effect of shipping and distribution delays that have hampered nearly every business in America.
Something is interrupted somewhere in the food chain, whether it's packaging or containers or labor or the trucking to get it off the warehouse dock.
Dozens of cargo ships are still lingering out at sea, while trucks, railways, and warehouses remain understaffed.
We're buying more products than ever before, whether they be online, pick up at stores, or at our big box retailers. And the American importer is struggling to keep up with that demand.
Big box retailers like Target, Costco, and Home Depot are all scrambling to make sure shelves stay stocked ahead of the holiday surge. Costco and Sam's Club have started limiting how many paper products and cleaning supplies customers can buy, while Walmart, the country's largest retailer, announced unprecedented steps to make sure products arrive on time, like chartering its own cargo ships, diverting shipments through less congested ports and rail stations, and hiring more than 20,000 permanent supply chain workers to help move products through its facilities. The bargain online retailer Overstock.com is struggling to keep its warehouses stocked. Its CEO warning customers the challenges are here to stay.
I think it's, for a time, the new normal. I think we can expect this well into 2022.
So as we head into the holiday season, here are some tips for buying food and gifts. Plan ahead. Start shopping now for non-perishables you'll need for holiday dinners. Consider buying and freezing things like turkey and other meat when you see it in stock. Look for generic brands. And build those potential price hikes into your budget. Meals and presents will probably cost more this year.
All right, not what anyone wants to hear, but experts say their number one tip, guys, don't stockpile. They say you're not going to need it, and it only makes the problem worse.
Manchin said he believes in paid leave, but not the way they want to approach it. He said the American people don't know this, but Democrat colleagues want to add an additional payroll tax on everyone and every employer. They would then pay into this so that there could be a fund of money to pay for those that are having babies. Basically, it would be a secret tax on all Americans. He said it would be like Social Security for babies. Now, Manchin said the whole bill feels very rushed and not well thought through. Like no one really knows what they want in the bill. They just want to pass a bunch of money. Manchin said he's been clear on where he stands for over 6 months now, but everyone has been so busy trying to do their own thing, and now they just want to rush through a huge bill on the American people without really knowing what it is. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she's not worried about Manchin or anyone else. and that Democrats are right where she wants them and that this bill will pass this week. So Pelosi remains optimistic. Now, it's come to my attention that within this bill, there's about $200 million set aside for a park that would be dedicated and named after Nancy Pelosi. I've also been reading that she may retire at the end of this year. So it could be one of the reasons she's pushing so hard to get this through is she wants a giant park named after her. Again, that's just in the news. Now, a few weeks ago, President Biden said whether it takes 6 days or 6 weeks or 6 months, that he and Democrats will get a bill through. Now, his use of 666 caught many people off guard, but I don't think he meant it for evil or anything. I think 6 is just a common number. Now, Manchin said he is concerned that the bill does very little for the American people, and he's worried about adding new programs while old programs, especially those that help seniors, are going broke. So he's basically like, listen, we are really starting to spread ourselves thin when we can't even pay for the programs we know work and that take care of our older population. Pfizer has announced how excited they are to help the American people with booster shots. They also mentioned that the booster shots will help bring in an additional $36 billion in sales revenue. Now, I'm sure that the $36 billion in additional sales had nothing to do with their motivation, but this is what's in the news. Now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis blasted President Biden in a news conference. DeSantis says giving illegals $450,000 in reparations is a slap in the face of all Americans. He said, I'm very, very concerned about reports. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal that the Biden administration is going to pay with tax dollars hundreds of millions of dollars to people who came to our country illegally across the southern border as, quote, damages for their having to deal with coming into the country. I mean, you think about it, Americans are getting more in their gas bill. They're getting more in their grocery bill. You've had all kinds of really bad policies throughout our country that have limited freedom, and you're going to turn around for that, and you're going to do $450,000 for an individual that came illegally to this country. DeSantis continued, I've seen a lot in my day. I've seen a lot that has happened over the last 9 or 10 months that I didn't think I'd ever see. But this takes the cake. If that is done, that is going to be a slap in the face to every hardworking American who has worked hard, played by the rules, and will especially be a slap in the face to the people who have immigrated legally to this country. This should not be allowed to stand. It's wrong. And whatever we can do in Florida to fight back, we will do it. Now, it's no secret that Biden and DeSantis see the world through different eyes. In fact, sometimes they typically do the opposite of each other just because they did it, right? Biden says something, DeSantis says the opposite. DeSantis does something, Biden sues to do the opposite, right? So it's no secret that they don't like each other. But according to Governor DeSantis, Florida said they will be the first state to sue Biden if he tries to give $450,000 of taxpayers' money to illegals that cross the border.
What I'm thinking about today is what these people who, and I've got a small piece of one of the beams they gave me last time, or not last time, but how many times ago. What are the people who died? What would they be thinking? They think this makes sense for us to do this kind of thing where you ride down the street and someone has a sign saying F so-and-so, or, I mean, it's not who we are.
Joe Biden! Joe Biden!
Fantastic job by a really great young man. who's got a big future, and we're just honored. We're just honored. Thank you.
We want Trump. We want Trump. That's what everybody's saying in the audience. I don't think I hear that back home. Everybody's screaming right now. The people are going nuts.
You're a mud for what you did to Afghanistan. Terrible, terrible. Don't sniff him. Terrible. Don't sniff him.
We love the blue. I'll say it loud. You're not supposed to say that. We love the blue. We love
Don't jump! Don't jump! Don't jump!
Thank you, sir.
He ain't gonna do This threat died in 2011 Afghanistan for what? This guy pulled this leave them in ruins and leave Americans behind. Leave Americans behind! Ronald Wiltrick buried in Arlington, 2011, December 11th. For what? He lost his life for what?
Joe, you're a disgrace to the Catholic faith. Joe, you're a disgrace to the Catholic faith. Joe, you're a disgrace to the Catholic faith. Joe!
A chorus of boos rained down on Biden and his supporters on the last stretch. Still, Biden kept smiling.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis blasted President Biden in a news conference. DeSantis says giving illegals $450,000 in reparations is a slap in the face of all Americans. He said, I'm very, very concerned about reports. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal that the Biden administration is going to pay with tax dollars hundreds of millions of dollars to people who came to our country illegally across the southern border as, quote, damages for their having to deal with coming into the country. I mean, you think about it, Americans are getting more in their gas bill. They're getting more in their grocery bill. You've had all kinds of really bad policies throughout our country that have limited freedom, and you're going to turn around for that, and you're going to do $450,000 for an individual that came illegally to this country. DeSantis continued, I've seen a lot in my day. I've seen a lot that has happened over the last 9 or 10 months that I didn't think I'd ever see. But this takes the cake. If that is done, that is going to be a slap in the face to every hardworking American who has worked hard, played by the rules, and will especially be a slap in the face to the people who have immigrated legally to this country. This should not be allowed to stand. It's wrong. And whatever we can do in Florida to fight back, we will do it. Now, it's no secret that Biden and DeSantis see the world through different eyes. In fact, sometimes they typically do the opposite of each other just because they did it, right? Biden says something, DeSantis says the opposite. DeSantis does something, Biden sues to do the opposite, right? So it's no secret that they don't like each other. But according to Governor DeSantis, Florida said they will be the first state to sue Biden if he tries to give $450,000 of taxpayers' money to illegals that cross the border.
Talk about Vice President Harris and why she's finally decided to go to the border. Well, we all know the truth, don't we? It's because President Trump said he's going to the border. And Kamala Harris knows more than anyone that she's likely to be the presidential nominee in 2024. You see, this isn't too hard to see. It's just exactly what it is. Everyone knows that Joe Biden is failing and can't do the job as President of the United States. So I want to again thank you, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who's headed back to the floor to go vote, for this important resolution to censure Joe Biden. And I'll add to that, he doesn't need just censured, he needs impeached. Thank you very much.
This censure resolution is to hold Joe Biden accountable. What we are seeing right now is an absolute crisis. And I think the reason we haven't even seen the border czar, the tapped border czar, go down there is because she will have to admit that this is a crisis. I have looked into the eyes of the children who are down there, the children who have been stripped of their shoelaces because we don't know if someone's going to harm them or if they're going to harm themselves, the children who are wrapped in Mylar blankets. And this censure resolution needs to be addressed now. I think, as you heard earlier today, it's actually very light and it's a very light action to censure him. This is actually worthy of impeachment. And that is what we should be doing right now. But we are taking this step to put him on notice and hold him accountable for what's going on at the border.
But since President Jackson was the only one ever censured, went all the way through the process, censured by the Senate, I want you to contrast it. I mean, this is rare, as you point out. So I want to get an understanding of why this rises to that level of what happened to Andrew Jackson in the 1830s.
This rises to the level of censure resolution because it is affecting our entire nation. This should go all the way through the Senate, and I would hope that the Senate would actually agree with us and pass this to hold them accountable. Yes?
I had a quick question. If you could say your name and who you're with. It's Andrew Solomon, Forbes. You've been pretty candid that Republican leadership is not a huge fan of some of your procedural tactics. Are you concerned at all? I mean, this has been rolled out with support from a dozen Republicans. Not exactly the kind of backing that leadership endorsed proposals usually get when they're first announced. Are you concerned that this is going to exacerbate tensions within the Republican conference about how best to go after President Biden and Democrats?
I respect our leadership greatly, and I think Leader McCarthy has done a great job of leading this conference. I'm not afraid to utilize the tools that we have available to us in the minority. I am an elected lawmaker, so this is very much in my lane to introduce this, and I would hope that leadership would join us in this. I think we are closer to 20 of my colleagues who have signed on to this now, and we are still bringing more people on as well. But right now, my job in the minority is to expose the corruption that's going on, expose inaction that is going on in this administration, and really to get in the Democrats' way and tell the American people, communicate to the American people how I am getting in their way.
Nice to have that. Oh, by the way, Biden said there is no way illegal immigrants separated at the border are getting $450,000. And that was garbage news made up to make him look bad. Well, guess what, Biden? Your nose is growing because you got busted again. Yesterday, the White House and the ACLU and the Department of Justice said it actually is true. And it will happen because it may end up being cheaper to give these illegal immigrants $450,000 each of taxpayer money versus using taxpayer money to fight them in court. So either Biden lied or he doesn't know what's happening in his own White House. Either way, the answer to that question is very scary, right? Like he doesn't know what's going on or he just straight up lied. But either way, ACLU, White House, and Justice Department all say these people will get money.
'Cause we're ready to fight, trying to brainwash us, but we won't let freedom die. The whole world's brainwashed.
Everybody pick a team, start a riot in the streets.
The whole world's brainwashed.
It's us against them, it ain't you against me.
Step one, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor. Use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem, made a lie. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control. This is called situational design.
Hey, what's up, YouTube fam? Check it out. I think it's time we woke up, guys. Woke up and took our lives back. I don't typically do stuff like this on my channel, but I've been sending quite a few videos, and it's just stuff I can't ignore. I don't lean to the left, I don't lean to the right. I think for myself, and I think as we all should. Yeah, this we need a little exposure on this, guys. So I'm just gonna put these videos out there in this video, and watch them for yourself and think for yourself. I have my opinions, and they're my own, but I'm gonna share these videos because I think people need to see this stuff. All right, y'all. But I can now because I was looking today and I was like, man, I did not realize that there was actually a yellow stripe on the other side of the white stripe. I mean, there's 2 white stripes, 2 big white stripes, and a yellow stripe and a big red stripe on it. That's just like, we need to be more, guys, look, we need to be more aware. We need to be more aware. But yeah, guys, we need to be robots. Yeah, guys, we need to be more aware. We need to be more aware of our surroundings now than the lights just went out.